Hello, Seth Breedlove, Greg Bennett. How are y'all today?
Doing well.
Good.
So, this episode of JimJam, the JimJam show, it's gonna be more cryptid and based and stuff. So, let's just get into it. So, I want to ask you real quick, Seth, what got you in your love for cryptids?
Um, Boredom. Uh, you know, I, I say all the time. I think I need to come up with concoct a really elaborate origin story or something. Because I don't have one. I worked a really boring job that involved a lot of time spent listening to podcasts, actually, and because of that, I got into um, I got into cryptids and the paranormal through just boredom, and uh, and then over time, I kind of formulated my own opinions about things and wanted to look into it for myself, and I went from there. But yeah, I mean, initially it was just I had a lot of free time on my hands, and so I listened to a lot of podcasts and did a lot of reading and learned about the topic because of that. But I never had my own experience or anything cool like that.
Yeah, I haven't really had experience. I don't think with a cryptid, but um, I'm like the was it X-Files thing says I want to believe,
Hmm.
but I don't know what I would do if I come across the Bigfoot in the woods. I'd probably shit
Oh,
myself.
that's not that bad. Um, I just had a run-in last weekend with some Bigfoots in the woods in Ohio, and um, it wasn't that bad.
So I guess obviously they didn't hurt you or anything because I
No, I
guess we
mean,
had,
yeah, no. Uh, I mean, that's what you got to tell yourself in the moment too. Is if they were out there killing people or attacking people, we would know for a fact they exist.
yeah.
Um, and they clearly are not horrendously violent by any stretch of the imagination. So, um, I'm pretty convinced they exist. I'm 98, 99%. I actually saw something last weekend for the first time, running across the pipeline outside of Minerva. Um, just this dark brown, hair covered, uh, what looked like a human just sprinting, hair covered human sprinting across the pipeline last weekend. So you kind of, yeah. I mean, the reality of it is, if they're there, it's probably some sort of animal
Yeah.
that likes to stay hidden, curious kind of animal. And in the moment, despite the fact that your fear really takes over,
Oh
um,
yeah.
you just kind of tell yourself that if they're there, if they're real, they're probably not going to tear you limb from limb, despite the fact they very probably could.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess they wouldn't be able to stay hid out if they're out there murdering people because they'd probably get hunted big time then.
Yeah. No, I think occasionally there's probably missing persons cases and things like that are accounted for by Bigfoot attacks. Maybe, but I think for the large part, they're very shy. They're curious for sure. They're curious. We had one come up to our cabin last Friday night to within 20 feet of our cabin. Um, and we had them approach us in the woods. Very curious, but I don't think they're there to mess you up. I think they kind of want to check you out and then go about their lives. I think they're pretty
Yeah.
shy.
The last missing 411 kind of alluded to that, though, didn't it? That maybe Bigfoots were responsible for some of these missing people.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? Honestly, I haven't gotten into the missing 411 stuff too much. I've been around David, and we've I've spoken to him, but as far as missing 411 goes, one of the things that's always bothered me is he doesn't really come forward with what he thinks about anything, which I kind of get.
Yeah.
But I don't know if if that's what he's alluding to. He definitely alludes to a lot of things, but then if you approach him about any of those things, he kind of plays it off like, no, that's not what he meant. So I have no idea what he thinks. Like Native American, in Native American legends, a lot of especially out in the Pacific Northwest, they have these legends about child thieves that come in the night and take children and things like that. And a lot of that is supposed to be related in some form or fashion to Bigfoot. So it's possible, that occasionally that is a thing they do. I just don't think it would be a common occurrence by any, stretch of the imagination. If you look at like, what is it? I just read the other day and the number shocked me, but in like 50 years, there's only been something like 70 grizzly kills, like where a grizzly bear killed someone. And, and the numbers actually get smaller. That's the most, the most kills that any predatory animal can have or has in like 50 years. And those numbers are surprising to me. I think when it comes to Bigfoot, if these things are killing people, it's not often, maybe a couple every 40, 50 years, something like that. But especially in a place like Minerva, like I was thinking about that while we were out there, the logistics that would have to, the logistics of like, let's say one of these things kill me. I'm in Minerva, Ohio. There's going to be a massive search effort that takes place. I'm here with like 5 or 6 other people. We actually had our kids with us. So there's children, like what the search parties that would descend on that town, the investigation that would go into trying to find out what had happened, like we would know they were real if that kind of thing was happening on the reg. And so I don't think it's a common occurrence, but I know that's one of the in Bigfoot lore and in the Bigfoot community right now, like Bigfoot killing people is like one of the hot button topics. People love it. And that's fine, but yeah, realistically, I don't think it happens.
Well, that makes me think about Greg did a review for this the Sasquatch Hulu I guess docu-series kind of thing. They used Sasquatch just to promote it pretty much because I guess they said Sasquatch killed 2 people or something, but really it was drug dealers or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think Greg was pretty pissed about that.
Yeah, I was not happy with that little series.
Yeah, we actually kind of did our own take on that topic with our Beyond the Trail series that's on YouTube. I know Alex and Eli actually went up to the same general area, and went into like one of those pot grows. I don't know. I don't think they did a ton of filming in there, but I know they did some shooting up in that area where all that was set. So,
did they say was it as bad as what that docu-series played it out to be?
As far as dangerous?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Like I would say you got to be real careful wandering around the woods in Northern California right now. You wander onto the wrong property and you might not be coming back, and it's not because of a Bigfoot.
Yeah, you don't be messing with people's marijuana.
Yeah.
So you have a new film out. Greg actually reviewed it. Skinwalker. What was it? Sorry, I got bad memory, but what was it called, Greg?
The Howl of the Rougarou.
Rougarou.
Mm-hmm.
So how was it filming that and everything?
I mean, we shot last March, and one of the key points of the movie is about, the coastal erosion that's going on in Louisiana and the loss of land, and the fact that the people there are trying to cling to what remains of the land that once was. And then Ida hit, and now from what I've seen, I mean, Homa, which is like the small town at the center of our movie, Homa was kind of like hit the hardest by that hurricane. So some points of Homa aren't even standing anymore. The Airbnb we stayed at, which was actually outside of Homa, down along the bayou, is completely gone. The Airbnb we actually stayed in got obliterated by the storm. So, I mean, I think in some ways we captured a way of life that might not exist anymore after that storm. I mean, we definitely captured Homa like it won't ever be again. And so that's pretty crazy to think about. It was a good shoot. It was I mean, I think we're not that familiar with like deep south. We've been down to like Fouke, Arkansas, and I grew up, I have family from North Carolina, and I spent most of my my childhood traveling the south, but we didn't get down into like the real deep, southern swamps of like Louisiana ever. So that was a bit of a shock for us. I mean, we were there in March, and we're thinking, March, how many alligators can there be in the area? And then, literally the first place we went to shoot B-roll, we encountered multiple snakes. Alligators were everywhere. We're like, okay, I guess everything here wants to kill you. So that was all, I mean, that was a learning curve for a bunch of guys from Ohio. But it was a good shoot. We got some really good interviews with, witnesses and experts, people from the area who could flesh out the story of the Rougarou. And then, when it came to like shooting the recreations and stuff, that was probably the hardest part of this particular film. I think you think of found footage as being like really unpolished and raw, and it is, but to capture that style in a way that is realistic is actually a ton of work and involves multiple takes. And we do multiple takes when we do recreations, but it's usually just to get lines read in a certain way or to capture like a certain expression or something like that. This was pretty wild. Like you would, I guess the big one that stands out in my mind, there's a scene in the movie that's supposed to be like you're seeing a home security camera. And that one took probably 30 or 40 takes to get just run through it over and over again until I felt like we had something that was believable enough. And then I got into post and I realized like what we had didn't quite work either. So then you're like playing around in post trying to make it work. So, I mean, it was a learning curve for sure. What it did is it made me want to try my hand at found footage, like straight ahead found footage horror movie someday, just because like I felt like we learned so much during the making of this one that I could potentially pull off something kind of cool. One thing that, just on the editing side of things, one thing about this, that the found footage style that I learned was I'm used to doing, in a movie, you get probably a take that's like 5 seconds long, and then you do some coverage of like a hand moving or something. You're doing all these things that are like fairly quick shots. Found footage needs to be drawn out to be believable. And I think that was something that we kind of picked up as we went along, because we were still thinking in those sort of quick burst, the style we typically would bring to like a narrative style recreation. So that was a big learning curve. The whole thing was a huge learning curve for everybody making the movie. But I know, like, at the end of the day, the one thing I know about the movie that works is the blood reeds scene, the scene we call the blood reeds, which is where the Rougarou chases this kid through a woods. That scene, I'm really excited about how that turned out. But overall, I think it all went pretty good.
Yeah, I thought the end product was awesome. Right. Especially going into it, like I didn't know that much about the Rougarou. So just really nailed it as far as the mythology, and then get into the religious aspect of it.
Yeah.
The different versions of the story and everything. It was just really well done.
Cool. Yeah, it's a movie that I think a lot more than maybe not a lot more, but maybe more so than some of our other ones. I think this one really hinges on the lore and ties together all the disparate threads. And I think it also, maybe some more so than some of our other movies, it probably warrants multiple viewings because you can really pick up on how all the various cultures that have immigrated into Louisiana inform the story of the Rougarou and where those stories come from and how all those disparate threads come together to form this, really interesting story. I thought that aspect of the movie alone was a big win for us.
I wanted to ask this, Seth. When did Small Town Monsters? When did you start that?
We started filming Minerva Monster in 2014, and I formed the LLC or filed the LLC that fall. So basically, we've been around since 2014. But Small Town Monsters was also a book proposal before it was a movie, and that book proposal existed in 2013. So, it depends on how you want to look at it. We've been around either like 6 or 8 years, somewhere in that time frame. As a film production company, we've existed for just over 6 years, probably closer to 7 years.
How many movies do you have or documentaries? Quite a lot, right?
I'd say 17 or 18 in that neighborhood. And then we have On the Trail of UFOs. We have Beyond the Trail, which is on YouTube. I mean, now we got, we're really growing like the YouTube side of things nowadays. And we're going to launch next year. We're launching multiple projects on YouTube as well. So yeah, it's,
busy.
I think it's like close to 20. I mean, there's a reason, like the reality of it is, though, people don't know this because the business side of filmmaking isn't exciting to learn about. But I mean, when we started the company in 2014, things like Amazon having an open platform for filmmakers didn't exist. So by 2016, Amazon had opened up their platform, Prime Video, to independent filmmakers, and we could upload our own stuff. We didn't have to deal with distributors. We could go direct to the platform, and they were great about working with filmmakers. So you would contact people at Amazon, whoever your handler was, and you were talking directly to another human being, and it was all really open and cool, and the payouts were great. And so when we started STM, we technically, in some ways, even though our audience was much smaller then, it's massive now. I mean, we have an audience of millions now, and back then it was thousands. But when we had an audience of thousands per title, your movies made more. And so over time, they've gradually gotten away from being supportive of independent filmmakers, and it's become more and more automated. So you're no longer dealing with people. It's all based on algorithms and all that kind of stuff. And so what you have to do is to keep up with the loss of revenue. Again, this is not exciting, but the reality is, just to keep the business alive, you have to create more product. And so to create more product, you have to hire more people, and hopefully you're maintaining the quality. And we're always like really conscious of that, like upping our game film to film. But I think something like YouTube's cool for us because the hope is that over time we would be able to create more content for YouTube that would support the films, and the films would actually become less. There'd be less films per year. So instead of like where we're at right now, which is like 4 or 5 this year, 5 movies that are coming out in 2021, we would go down to like 2. And that way you're putting much more focus on the quality and the storytelling in those films, and it becomes more of an event, and your quantity kind of content is coming out on YouTube. I think that's what we would really like to do.
Yeah, I just want to say, damn it, Jeff Bezos.
Yeah,
always screwing the little man, ain't he? But anyways,
yeah.
He's just too worried about going to space. Oh, speaking of that, when y'all gonna try to go to space? We're gonna
like Fast 9 or something, Fast and Furious. Yeah.
Go explore the moon.
Hopefully this year, that'd be great.
Yeah, Small Town Monsters presents The Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, I'm in.
If only, right?
Yeah.
Well, that question: would y'all go to space if you was able to, and it didn't cost $1 million?
I mean, if we could get Elon Musk to fund it, I'm sure if anyone would do it, it would be Musk. But yeah, sure, why not? As long as I can, I don't know. There's a lot of like people get sick in space and throw up, and I could see that being like an unfortunate side effect if I went.
Two, I hear that if you're up there too long, you lose a lot of muscle and stuff because
Mm-mm.
no gravity. So
Yeah, that's not a big deal for me.
Well, I want to get on Greg recently. Was it last week, right?
Mhm.
He made the trip with some friends to Point Pleasant. So,
Yeah.
Greg, would you tell us about it?
Yeah, so we've had it planned for about a year now, and have been kind of toying around with this idea. We catfish a lot at night, uh, typically at Percy Priest Lake here in the Smyrna, Murfreesboro area of Tennessee.
Yeah.
Always see a lot of weird shit in the sky and everything, and we've always been fascinated with cryptids, and we kind of got this idea of just combining our two favorite things, right? So catfish and cryptids is kind of what we came up with.
Mm-hmm.
With the first trip being Point Pleasant, of course, because Mothman's our favorite. But
Yeah.
we set up at the side of the Silver Bridge. Did some fishing there.
Sweet.
Fished over by the Cornstalk monument.
Mm-hmm.
We got really deep into the TNT area, like
Nice.
well off the beaten path.
Yeah. Yeah. I stayed in there for 5 days back in June or I guess it would have been May of 2017. I actually camped in there for like 5 days with a Japanese film crew. It was like one of the weirdest. We were on Japanese television, and that the TNT area is pretty rough. Like especially like those off the beaten path areas are crazy.
Yeah, and it doesn't smell great out there.
Yeah.
I fell in to the swamp area once, so that was great.
Mm-hmm.
What's some of the craziest stuff you found in those igloos?
I mean, I haven't found much. We actually kayaked into one of them because there's a couple that are out in the ponds that you have to actually, if you want to go in, you got to kayak into them. So, I mean, that's probably the wildest thing that I've seen out there. There's the one that has the blown off roof, like the top of it's, you can go inside but I haven't found anything too crazy. There's some hilarious graffiti on
bad graffiti.
Yeah. There's some ridiculous graffiti in some of them. I mean, the craziest experience I had out in the TNT area was we had some off-duty police officers, and we were setting trail cameras in this one building, and we went down to another building, and we're way back. We're actually on private property. The farm museum owns a section of the TNT area, what used to be the TNT area, actually over where the old aqueducts and stuff are. So it's where the remaining structures are. So we had left a trail cam in one of the structures, and this is midnight. I mean, real late at night. We hiked down to another what used to be an old water tower, and we go in the water tower. And while we're in the water tower, we realize there's someone moving around in the building that we had just left. We're seeing light flash, and the guys, the off-duty cops we're with, they're like, you know what? I bet that's kids stealing our trail cam, and they actually drew guns and went up there and pulled guns on these guys. It turned out it was a bunch of kids, like teenagers.
Wow.
And they had snuck into this building, and they didn't realize we were still around. They were like trying to steal the trail cam. And these cops scared the crap out of them. I mean, they went in with guns on them, and so that was pretty funny. That's probably the craziest thing had happened in the TNT area. We actually had something throw rocks at us and kind of like make some strange noise in there. But the thing about the TNT area, especially that side, is there are houses that kind of border it. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if we were experiencing something unusual or if we just had some angry neighbors throwing rocks. It's hard to say.
Right. And it's tourist area.
Yeah.
People that are there for the Mothman experience want to walk around, but I don't think too many of them probably get off that main path.
Yeah, people go to that first row of igloos, that last row of igloos technically, and they walk it and they think they've seen the TNT area, but it's a huge area. I mean, there's it's like 18,000 acres, 30 or maybe 30,000. It's a good chunk of land.
Yeah, I think we thought originally there was maybe like 10 of those igloos, but there's hundreds.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere,
spread throughout there.
Yeah.
One of them we found actually had one of the rusted containers still in it.
Yes. Yeah, you'll find that.
Yeah, and that terrified me because a local had told us maybe a couple years ago one of them exploded again.
Yes. Yeah.
So
it blew up inside the TNT area and blew the roof off of it. That's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. I mean, that area was an EPA disaster area for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend going in the water.
Yeah, we found lots of little sample jugs from like the 80s.
Yeah.
Where they were apparently testing the water, I would guess. But
yeah,
it's a cool area, man.
Super cool.
Did you take any for souvenirs, Greg?
I ain't taking shit from there. No, didn't take anything. Took pictures. Seth, I had a couple questions for you about. I mean, you spent a lot of time in Point Pleasant.
Yeah.
With the films you made and everything, and you've talked a lot to the locals.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that we found really strange was, everybody's all smiles and everything about Mothman,
Mm-hmm.
but we really wanted to ask questions about Indrid Cold and UFO sightings, and it's almost like they would clam up on us. Nobody wanted to say anything about UFOs. Nobody talked to us about UFOs. Did you get anything like that?
No, I've actually always found that UFOs, people are more open about UFOs and Men in Black there when I go than they are about Mothman. I find it's difficult to find anyone to talk to about Mothman, but though I typically have no issue finding people that are more than willing to talk about UFOs. Dark Sky or On the Trail of UFOs, Dark Sky, the impetus for that movie was originally we were going to do a section in the Mothman legacy that was solely about UFOs after the bridge collapse. Mm-hmm. But there's so many UFO sightings that it would have, I didn't know how to pare that down. I've never had any issue with that when it comes to Point Pleasant and UFOs. I always find it's very easy. I mean, even like Jeff Wamsley's family had UFO sightings and stuff like that. So yeah, I never encountered that. Men in Black and UFOs, I had no problem turning up witnesses.
Yeah, our I guess dream spot to visit. We wanted to get as close as possible to where Woodrow Derenberger met Indrid Cold.
Yeah,
that
right off 77. Yeah.
Yeah, we couldn't get good directions to it, and
oh really?
It was really weird, man. It was weird.
That sucks. It's super easy to find. It's shoot. Now see that the exit number always escapes me, but it's before you get to Mineral Wells. It's like the exit between Mineral Wells Parkersburg and Mineral Wells. And it's On the Trail of UFOs Dark Sky. We don't expressly say it, so people probably don't realize it, but there's a shot of like Shannon walking down the highway, the side of the highway, and that's actually at the spot where Indrid would have been. So it's right off 77. And when you see it, it doesn't look like what you would imagine the location being, but 77 at that point in time would have been like a 2-lane road. I don't think it was an 8-lane or whatever it is, 6-lane highway, whatever it is today.
Right.
So it would have been a little different.
What about like John Keel kind of talked about this circle of terror around there. You know what I'm talking about? Like walk through it,
where you could walk into it and you'd feel like crippling fear. I've always talked about that because when we were there, there were definitely, we've been in the TNT area so much late at night that at this point it's kind of like just being home or something like that. But I do know when we were filming the first movie and it was all kind of new to us, there were times where you would be out in the TNT area and some of those things would come back to your mind and you're like, am I going to encounter that? I forget what he called that. I forget what he called that, but he would walk into this. It was almost like you walked through a wall and were in this just like zone of terror or something, and then you could walk right out of it and you'd be fine.
Yeah, and he said he almost left his car because he didn't want to walk back.
Yeah, he didn't want to walk back through it. Yeah. There's that. There's the the sort of like disembodied voices in the sky that people would hear. There's so much activity that took place around the area there during 66 and 67. And I do always wonder how much of it ended with the collapse of the Silver Bridge. I know the Mothman sightings didn't end. People just stopped reporting them. But I wonder how much of the really strange activity actually stopped after the collapse of the Silver Bridge.
Or even has it.
Yeah.
Who knows what's still going on. I mean, that was one thing. Some of the locals we would talk to would kind of allude to, you're probably not going to run into Mothman, but you might meet some crazy people out here.
Oh, yeah.
And like things like that. And that's like, in the back of your head too, you're like, oh man, I'm going to get like killed or something out here. But
I don't think you're going to get killed, but you're definitely, there's some characters in that town, man. Like when we were filming Mothman Legacy, the first thing we saw when we rolled into town to shoot B-roll was the guy just break dancing his way down the sidewalk to like no music. I don't know what he was doing.
Wow.
And I mean, I've been to that town probably 100 times at this point. At one point, I was going to move to Point Pleasant and set up shop there for SDM. But yeah, I always encounter some characters when I go there. But I mean, it's Appalachia. Anywhere you go in Appalachia, you're going to find your fair share of characters. Probably anywhere you go in America, really.
Yeah, and I think it was in Mothman Legacy. There was a woman you interviewed, and she said people come for Mothman, but they come back for Point Pleasant.
Mm-hmm.
And that's totally all I've thought about since leaving there. Was like, I just really liked the town. Like I really enjoyed the atmosphere,
Yeah, that's what I said. I legit wanted to move there for a while. And I've always thought it's a really peaceful place, especially where you were talking about, down by where the Silver Bridge collapsed or the Silver Bridge was. And then down by Tuendui, where the Cornstalk monument is. Those are two of my favorite spots in town. I think I've always had a real connection to those places.
So,
and the Mexican restaurant there on Main Street downtown is real good.
Which was it?
The Mexican restaurant right downtown. It's actually pretty good.
Oh, Rio Bravo, right?
It's like Rio Bravo 2 or something. Yeah.
I totally ate there. Yeah.
Where's one at?
I have no idea.
I don't think they do either.
They just did it. They probably did that just to get people to question like, "Where's one at?" But so I guess I've never been there. So is it a real small town?
I mean, it's not tiny, and especially if you combine it with Gallipolis across the river. I mean, Gallipolis is actually a pretty good size town, and I don't know if you got to go over there. But Gallipolis, the downtown, like the historic district is gorgeous. Sits on the river. It's really beautiful. But when you combine those two towns, it's actually a pretty good sized area, community. Point Pleasant itself is like 16,000, 17,000. So it's not tiny. It's not a tiny place by any stretch of the imagination. But I would consider it a smaller town.
Well, I'll tell you this: the only 24-hour food establishment is a Speedway.
Oh yeah.
Speedway.
A Speedway. That's all you're going to get late at night.
Yep.
So.
We was actually planning on going to the Mothman Festival, which is this weekend, ain't it?
Mm-hmm. It was supposed to be, yeah.
Oh, they canceled it?
Yeah, it was canceled. Yeah, it was actually last weekend, I think.
It would have been last weekend. They
Oh,
still
okay.
there was still some vendors that showed up, and I mean there was a line, to get into the museum Saturday. So I mean they still had a little bit of a turnout, but the big 15,000 people ordeal was canceled.
Yeah.
I guess due to the spike and everything.
Yeah.
Well, we was planning on trying to go to that, and one thing I did notice is Point Pleasant does not have many hotels at all, if they do.
No, I mean Point Pleasant itself only has one hotel that I know of. There might be another one sort of outside of town. Gallup Bliss has a number of hotels, but it doesn't matter. The hotels fill up about a year in advance. The first year I went to the Mothman Festival, I had to stay in Ripley, which is about an hour and a half away. And that was I could only get one night in Ripley. The second night I had to stay in Charleston. So it's not, yeah, you want to, if you plan on going to the festival, you want to book about a year in advance. I'll actually be booking our hotel for next year in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah. We stayed at Crown Point, Ohio, in a hunting cabin, which was just the most back road. That was the scariest experience of the whole trip. Was driving back and forth like to that cabin because it was all gravel road, windy hills. But yeah, I think the hotel downtown, I can't remember the name of it. It's supposedly haunted.
Yeah, the Low. It's probably haunted by bed bugs, and never take a black light in there. That's all I can tell you.
So they're charging like $350 a night. When the
wow.
Around. Yeah, they're not playing.
No,
damn, they're proud of their bed bugs.
Yeah.
This ain't got nothing to do with West Virginia or nothing, but I recently listened to a podcast and they were talking about Clinton Road. Have y'all done anything with Clinton Road yet?
No, I'm not familiar.
Well, I think it had kind of there. I guess a lot of paranormal type stuff, but I think also the Jersey Devil has been known to be around that area too. So that's why I didn't know if you might have messed with any of the Jersey Devil stuff or anything.
Jersey Devil. We're making a Jersey Devil movie next year. Actually.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know if you can while you're doing it look into Clinton Road. I think it's. I can't remember what podcast it was I listened to, but it definitely seems like a spooky area. It's a real long road where nothing is there really, and there's a lot of paranormal stuff happens there. So,
cool.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up because,
we got the devil on our radar. I just gotta be prepared to, deal with Pineys. I think they're called, right? The Pine Barrens area.
Yeah.
The lawless land of the Pineys.
Yep.
So that'll be fun.
So what's that? I haven't heard of that.
The Pine Barrens area, Leeds, New Jersey, is very, very rural, very, they take care of stuff themselves. They're not calling the police type people.
Okay, I thought you might have to look out for the Jersey Shore type people.
I'm watching out for them too, for sure.
Well, the Guidos and the Guidettes.
Yeah. They're far scarier than anything the Pine Barrens has, I think.
That'd be a funny mockumentary to do. Make them like cryptids. the Guidos, yeah. I don't know. Stupid.
They're definitely mysterious.
For sure. But so is that your next film you're working on? Is the Jersey Devil?
Oh no, I mean we've still got 2 movies coming out this year. We've got On the Trail of Bigfoot, The Discovery will be our next one out, and then we have On the Trail of the Lake Michigan Mothman. We will be filming On the Trail of UFOs Night Visitors next week. We're going to be in Colorado starting next Wednesday. And then the next movie we'll be filming will be the Jersey Devil movie. But we're also filming all our YouTube series as well. So I'm working on one called the Bigfoot Project, which is where we had all that activity last week. And then we have another one coming out called On the Trail of Bigfoot, The Ridge. That'll be a series set on the Chestnut Ridge in Pennsylvania. We're doing a lot.
Yeah, sounds like it. Obviously. Well, I'm sure we'll be getting the press releases for it. We get every one that comes out. Hopefully, the website will be back up. My website got attacked.
Oh, nice.
Yesterday, so it's down right now.
Awesome.
But hopefully by the time your next film comes out, I'm sure Greg would love to review it.
Yeah.
But so hopefully it'll be back going and we can post it there.
Yeah, for sure.
But man, we really appreciate you coming on. Fun talking to you. Always looking forward to your what small town monsters will bring in next time. So
yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, keep doing your thing, and we look forward to more.
Thanks, man.
All right. So there y'all go. That was Seth Breedlove. Again, thank him for joining us. I hope y'all enjoyed that. But Greg, what do you got going on?
So the plan right now, we have over 40 hours of footage, of course, to go through. And start releasing our own videos. We're going to next adventures up to Hopkinsville and see if we can spot us some Kelly Hopkinsville goblins.
Oh yeah, from what's that movie or that show?
Hellier.
That's it.
I think Hellier is probably what made him the most famous, but of course, try to catch some monster catfish while we're there in that area.
Well, that's pretty cool. Did y'all record video while y'all were catfishing as well?
Did. He caught a 20-pound flathead.
So that would be cool, though. That might be a new take on the whole, like you said when Seth was on, the whole cryptid and catfishing at the same time. So you can have your own, not niche, I guess, but yeah, your own little spin on cryptid hunting.
We're outside. It's night. We're in spooky areas. Like if there's a good chance of seeing something, we're probably, we're going to see it. So,
I guess you could do the little spin on it. Like we're just out here catfishing and, hey, might as well, go look for the Mothman.
Well, I'll tell you, we did everything we could think of to summon Mothman.
I guess he's like, I'm not going to give them what they want.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. He might have hacked your website too, though.
Yeah, fucker.
But we are actually our next big trip, because we're going to do some local stuff since there's been so many like Bigfoot sightings in the area lately.
Yeah.
We fish those rivers a lot, so try to see what we can find. And then we wanted to go to Louisiana next year and do kind of a Rougarou thing. We've definitely got spots marked all over.
Yeah.
The real dream is to head to Texas and catch alligator gar while looking for chupacabras.
That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Be very cool.
Yeah.
Shit. I accidentally erased something. Anyways, well, hell yeah. Well, I can't wait to see after y'all get everything done. So you definitely have enough for a feature length or something, right?
I think we're gonna stick to the YouTube thing also.
Are you just gonna do clips or?
Yeah, just kind of little, like maybe 20-minute episodes.
Oh, okay.
And then I think we're just gonna kind of wait and maybe roll the whole thing out like early spring.
Are you gonna do like Netflix does and just a mass release of all episodes, or do one a week?
I would like to have a few of them like kind of sitting back, just waiting, to just keep people interested. Like I would hate to release the Mothman one now and then we don't get to do the next one for 3 months or something.
True.
People done forgot about us by then. So
well, it gives you time to edit the first one and get it all together and all that good shit. And hell, you do kind of know a sound guy, or not a sound guy, but you know,
A
you
composer. I know a
composer.
composer.
Yeah.
We're planning on going back to Point Pleasant too, man. We just fell in love with it. So
Well, hell, let me know, man. We'll try to plan on it with y'all, and that would be a lot of fun. We can, maybe get a bigger hunting cabin or something, and
dude, it was scary up there, man.
that would be awesome. Too bad they don't rent pontoons out there. Do they
I
rent
got
pontoons?
I got to tell you, the scariest moment I think of the whole trip was we were actually on the Gallipolis side. Don't ask me how to pronounce the name of that town. Everyone we talked to said it differently. So we were on that side fishing the Ohio, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, the thickest fog I've ever seen in my life rolled in. And I sent you a picture of it. So we had, two of our friends are up front with spotlights,
Yeah.
which you can't even see, a foot in front of them, just looking for logs, so we don't run into a log. And then Dan, who's driving the boat, the fish finder will actually keep track of your path. So he's just following the red line back, right? He's basically playing a Nintendo game, like trying to get us back to the boat dock. But pretty convinced we were going to die that night.
Wow, that's crazy. So he had to use the fish finder just to get. It was
That's
that
all.
bad.
That's all he could do, was just try to keep the little boat symbol on the red line.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was an adventure.
But that's awesome though that he had that, had that option to do that. So, y'all could get out of there. Because if not, y'all'd probably just have to sit there or just slowly move or something.
Well, then you load the boat up, and then you have to drive through that holler and everything through all that fog. So it was like, I think once we made it back to the cabin, we were all just like physically drained. We were just like so exhausted.
Oh, I can imagine. But so real quick before we get off here, if could you not pulled up your GPS on your phone and it would have kind of guided you a little bit, or what is it?
Dude, there ain't service nowhere around that place.
Oh wow.
None of us had service pretty much the entire trip. There was one little corner of the porch that we would kind of take turns sitting at, so we could like text people or if we had to make a call. But that was about it. Even in town, it was kind of sketchy. But no, that red line is all you got.
That's crazy. Well, oh hell yeah, man. Well, as always, man, let's definitely do this again sometime. I appreciate you coming on, telling us about your adventures, and again, thanks Seth for coming on.
Always a
Hopefully,
pleasure.
I would plug the website, but kind of pointless right now.
Mothman took it down.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. I'm gonna put that on social media. I'm gonna get a picture of Mothman. I'm like, Mothman hacked my website because we interviewed Seth Breedlove, creepy bastard.
Right there, he took you down.
He knew we was interviewing Seth Breedlove, so he killed my site. I'm hoping, man. I got. Don't matter. I'm not gonna keep on. But yeah. So thanks for watching, y'all, or listening, whichever you're doing.